my 20s were filled with severe depression and anxiety, alcoholism, obesity, shopping addiction, suicidality, and a lot of unresolved trauma and a bunch of other self-destructive behaviors that I just can't even think of right now. So I have a lifelong history with depression. By the time I was 8 and in Catholic school, I would beg God to kill me in my sleep. I didn't want to wake up in the morning, and I was weighing how, like, if God killed me like he had, done to a lot of people in the Bible, except this time it was something that was like wanted, then it wouldn't be a suicide and I wouldn't have to go to hell, but he would be doing me such just a mercy. And I would have these extensive whispered conversations, prayer conversations, just begging to die before the sun came up. And that's not fucking normal. I got better sort of at masking the depression, had some dips in teen years, a lot of suicide attempts in my teen years. But I got better at sort of bottling things in by the time I hit my 20s, and I sort of had this like fake, confident, happy persona. But really, by the time I hit my early 20s, I was on a collision course to just absolute self-destruction. So I'm skipping ahead a lot. I'm going to skip over a lot of stuff because this is just a general summary intro video. But by early autumn of 2018, and that's when I turned 24 in that October. But before that, when I was still late 23, I was in the free fall. By that point, I would say I had allowed myself to become an alcoholic, was drinking copious amounts of vodka, ordering in food, like devouring meals for 8 in single sittings, shopping myself into oblivion, and I lived on a 9th story. I would look down and I would contemplate what my chances of dying were. And I figured they would be pretty good, but then on the flip side, I'd contemplate what are my chances of surviving that? Because I know if that happened, that would be like prisoner in your own body type territory. And to me, that was a fate worse than anything. To feel how I felt, plus to be, like paralyzed or, a prisoner, like where you're aware, but you're basically in a vegetative state. That was my deepest fear. And that is the only reason why I didn't, like, because every day it felt like I was inching closer and closer and closer, just rolling over. But as I was avoiding the balcony, I just kept drinking, I kept eating, I kept shopping. My debt accumulated into the tens of thousands of dollars, which it started to feel just more and more unfathomable. I gained probably over 100 pounds in 6 to 7 months, and the stretch marks, I felt like a character on like Dragon Ball Z when their organs are like like growing, or like Machamp, the fucking Pokemon, except it was stretch marks. It wasn't muscle. I would have preferred if it was muscle, but it was like these striations had stretched so far so fast, and they were like clear, so you could see the purplish bloody tissue underneath. And I looked like I was going to explode at multiple points of my body because it just happened so hard, so fast. And I really started to... I know that I was probably considered legally sane because I wasn't having psychotic hallucinations. I wasn't hearing voices that weren't there. I wasn't, seeing... like demons or even just things that shouldn't have been there. But I really think my thought process was so delusional by that point that I don't think I should have even counted as a legally sane person. I really had this fixation, this belief that I need to die. And I'm just like putting off the inevitable, but like I really should just get it over with. I really should just do it. Like I need to be dead, which is scary looking back on because I feel so disconnected from those thoughts now. Like I feel like that just doesn't even resonate with my current thought process at all. And so it's like scary to realize like that wasn't a different person. That was me. And so basically I reached a tipping point in February of 2019 where I had family intervention. Luckily, it was bittersweet. I'm not going to get into that right now because there was some unresolved family trauma stuff. But they gave me a place to come and try to put myself back together, which I know a lot of people don't have, and so I do feel lucky for that. But I was at the absolute most rock bottom, just like I said, delusional, completely suicidal, morbidly obese. My body just hurt all over from all of the damage that had been done. My skin hurt all over, like my nerves hurt. Obviously, being an alcoholic was not ideal either. And so it has taken me the rest of my 20s to build myself back up mentally, even just enough to where I feel like I'm strong enough to start getting life back on track and not just coasting. Yes, I have been, working, so I'm not just like, living in my parents' basement or something. I have my own home, I'm not living at my parents anymore. I'm working and just like taking care of the absolute bare minimums. But I cannot say that for the last 5 plus years that I've been living. I can honestly say, I know this sounds very self-deprecating, but I can honestly say I have just been existing, building up mental stability and getting myself back to where I feel like a sane person again, but I have not been living, and I think it's time to change that. Every journey is different, and every journey is going to require different paths and turns and resources and whatnot, but I'm going to be sharing my path to figuring all this shit out, and if it sparks any comfort, joy, or inspiration for you, then all the better. I do want to finish this general introduction, though, by just... It's hard. I don't want to overpromise because, I would love to be able to say, if you're in the throes of a very difficult time in your life, especially, whether even if you're not suicidal, even if it's just like a chronic illness, or, if it's a chronic illness plus a mental illness, or if it's just such a severe mental illness that it is destroying your physical health, or any myriad of combinations. If you feel like you wish you weren't here anymore, it really can get better. I cannot, this is where I don't want to overpromise, because I cannot promise you that you're going to one day be able to wake up, super early on the dot and feel this spark of life and this spark of joy. And, you don't have to even start getting ready for work until 7:30, but you're up at 6:15 because you want to get in a quick workout and then a morning shower and then journal a little bit and all that bullshit. And, get in 5 minutes of sunshine by the window, sipping a little thing of organic tea, a recipe that you saw on a blog or on the internet or on TikTok, and then just feel I'm so glad to be here and so glad to start this day and so glad to be alive. I cannot promise that that's ever going to happen because I have never experienced that in my entire life. I don't think that level of joy and fulfillment and being happy to be alive is realistic in most cases. But I can promise you that if you are in the cycle of months into years, into potentially decades of your known life thus far being where you wake up and the minute you open your eyes and have conscious awareness of still being on this earth, your first reaction is the most painful sigh. Shit. Where your reaction to waking up and realize you are still a conscious entity alive on the earth is such despair. If that's where you are, I can promise you it is possible to wake up and not feel that way anymore. For years and years and years, even when I wasn't in my major depressive, full major depression episodes, I really do think that I have that dysthymia, where the pervasive depressive disorder, because I think like you have good ebbs and flows, but I really think starting since the age of 8 or even before, there's just been something in me that's just been broken. And it really does make it hard to feel just that general spark of joy and spark of life. But lately, for the first time that I can remember in my entire life, I wake up and it might not be sunshine and rainbows, but I'm in a pattern now. Day after day after day, I wake up and the vibe is, okay. It might not be hopping out of bed, jumping for joy, but it certainly is not the sigh. And that feels like a miracle. Even just, and if you are someone who has never been to that brink before, someone who's never been in that, months and years and years and years of living like that, it might just seem like trivial. But if you are in that cycle, I know that you know how wonderful that sounds. I know you know how implausible even just that sounds. Like it really does feel. I've been there. Believe me, I've been there. It feels like that is unobtainable, impossible, and like things will never get better. Like things will never even be bearable. But don't give up. Do not stop your journey now, because you are stronger than you realize. Some things need to run their course. Some things, healing is not a linear journey. I know that sounds, I heard that when I was in the throes of it, when I wouldn't even consider myself legally sane. I heard that and I wanted to barf. I wanted to tell people to go fuck yourself. You have no idea what I'm going through, how I feel, how painful this is, how impossible this feels, the depths of my despair and my darkness, and just, you don't understand what it's like to spend more of your waking hours thinking I need to die right now and planning it, calculating risks of, what would be the most efficient way, actually attempting it, and when it fails, being like, shit, scratch that. Let me go back to the drawing board. I've been there, and I've been in that position of hearing things like the nonlinear journey and healing is nonlinear and being like, fuck you. But it's true. It is true. I mean, as someone who, I wouldn't say that I've come out the other side quite yet, but as someone who is in the process of coming out the other side, hopefully feeling better than I ever have in life, it is true. And I'm certainly not where I want to be yet, just as like a holistic, full life picture, physical health, mental health, and just the little sparks of joy in life that make life feel more bearable or more of something to look forward to. I am not even close to where I want to be. But even just having gotten as far as I have thus far, I can tell you life will not always be the suicidal cloud of despair, the sigh, the morning sigh of fuck, because you realize you're still alive. Fuck. So I hope that if you needed that affirmation, I don't know if that was a good affirmation. I'm really new to all this, but I hope that made you feel better if you're in the pit. I know that pit well, And it's a really hellish experience. Really traumatizing. Even just being in the pit is its own traumatic experience. And if you're there right now, I am so sorry. But believe in yourself. Be kind to yourself. And it is possible to get out of the pit. Thank you so much if you made it to the end. There's going to be a lot of content down the pipeline, a lot of different topics in the realms of health, fitness, wellness, diet, mental health, maintaining sobriety, skin-related things. Like I'm working on, I'm going to be trying out different products and seeing how they work on stretch marks. And I'd love to share any products that I find particularly effective and helpful, and those that, save your money. There's going to be a lot of stuff down the pipeline. There's going to be a complimentary blog as soon as I figure out how to work WordPress that'll, be like a supplement to the YouTube and vice versa. I really would love for them to complement each other in a nice way. But yeah, I am figuring all of this out as I go. And so there's going to be highs, lows, ugly moments. Probably a lot of failures, but hopefully just enough successes to keep the progress incrementally moving upward and onward. This journey is mostly for myself, just for biographical record, and maybe someday I'll be able to look back and be like, whoa, what a journey that was. But if you find any comfort in even just passively tagging along on the journey, then I am so happy to have you. There's going to be a lot of growing pains. Nothing ever starts out perfect, but that's part of the beauty of life and growing up, getting older, having the gift of hindsight as 2020. But yeah, it is never too late to start working on yourself, and you can never fall so far that it's not even worth trying. It is always worth giving it your best shot. And I'm starting small myself. One of the small things that I've started to do to build discipline, and I might have a video coming up discussing discipline in particular and how it can, well, let me not go down that rabbit hole yet, but even just as small as, if you don't normally floss, start committing to flossing every single night, no matter how much you don't want to. It's those little choices that are beneficial that can build up to something bigger and can build up to more mental discipline that can extend to other areas of life and to bigger and better things. Never be afraid of feeling proud of yourself for starting small, especially if you are coming from a really dark, low, rock bottom place. But yeah, like I said, lots of content on the way, and wish me luck figuring out how to operate the WordPress. I'd love to have the blog up and running soon, because some things are just better in written form, in my opinion. Some things make more sense in written form. So I'm a little behind. I wanted to have some, like get ready with me for the gym, and then immediately after the gym type videos ready to go from my first week of documenting my fitness journey. That ended up not quite happening, but I might compile those into a retrospective while I prepare for week 2 of documenting my fitness journey. Anyway, there's stuff on the way, at least in fitness. See you very soon, and have a great day, night, weekend, weekday, whatever. Bye. So, real quick, the inspiration for the channel name Rock Bottom 180 is inspired by a 180-degree turn. So if you were walking towards the edge of hell, and, that's the direction you're heading in, if you do a 180-degree turn and start moving again, you're walking in the exact opposite direction of where you were headed. And so that's the visual I have in mind. If you're walking towards your personal hell, your personal rock bottom, and doing a 180-degree turn, that's going to start taking you away from rock bottom. And that's my goal for myself. I want to be walking in the exact opposite direction. I know that the journey is probably going to end up being a little zigzaggy and maybe having some loop-de-loops, but in theory, a 180-degree turn, that would just be lovely. So that's what we're working towards. Okay, but that's Rock Bottom 180.